All right, everyone ready for a deep dive? Today we're tackling AI again, but this time we're getting our hands dirty with agriculture. Literally down in the dirt, exactly. Our big question, can AI tell you when to water your plants? Turns out researchers at the University of Florida are way ahead of the game on this one. Yeah, they really went all in on this, focusing on how AI could predict soil moisture, which is so crucial for farmers to know when to irrigate their crops. Okay, so I got to ask the obvious question here. Can you just touch the soil and tell if it's dry?
Sure you can.
Yeah.
For one plant in the pot.
Right.
But imagine you're a farmer with acres upon acres of land. You can't go around poking every inch of soil.
Yeah.
Plus there's a real art to getting the moisture level just right.
Oh, absolutely.
Too much water and you're basically drowning your plants, leading to rot and disease.
Too little and they shrivel up and die.
It's all about finding that sweet spot.
And that's where AI comes in with its fancy algorithms.
And these researchers weren't messing around.
Yeah. They set up shop in fields of green beans and sweet corn using sensors to constantly measure soil moisture. Constantly, every 15 minutes. Over 2 entire growing seasons.
We're talking about a mountain of data here. Over 140,000 data points just for the green beans alone.
Wow, that's a lot of data points. They must have some serious computing power to handle all that.
Oh, they did. They brought in a supercomputer called Hypergator to help crunch those numbers.
Hypergator? Sounds intense.
It is. It just shows how serious they were about tackling this problem.
Okay, so we've got our fields wired up, data pouring in. Now it's time for the AI to work its magic. But before we get to the results, let's break down the types of AI they used, because I know all those technical terms can get a little confusing.
You're right. It can seem complicated. At its core, machine learning is like teaching a computer to see patterns the way we do.
Okay, I think I get that. So it's like showing a computer a million pictures of cats and dogs, and eventually it learns to tell the difference.
Exactly. It starts to recognize those subtle differences. In this case, instead of cats and dogs, they used 5 different machine learning models to look for patterns in the soil moisture data.
5 different models. Were they comparing them to see which one was the smartest?
Exactly. They wanted to see which one could predict the soil moisture the best. Now they also used another type of AI called deep learning, which is like machine learning but way more complex.
Deep learning. Okay, so if machine learning is like teaching a computer to identify a plant, then deep learning is like sending it to get a PhD in botany.
That's a great way to put it. It can pick up on much more subtle patterns and connections in the data. It's like having a superpower detective on the case.
So they had their AI all prepped and ready to go, data flowing in like crazy. But did they actually manage to figure out when those plants were thirsty?
That's what we really want to know, right? So did our AI contestants pass the thirst test?
Well, before we announce the winner, we got to talk about how they graded these AI models. Because it's not as simple as just saying, hey, you got it right or good guess.
I bet there are some complex formulas involved, right?
There are, but don't worry, we'll keep it simple. One of the key metrics they used is called R2. It basically tells you how well the model's predictions matched up with what was actually happening in the soil.
So if the AI says the soil moisture is at like 60% and the sensors say it's actually 61%, that's a good sign, right?
Exactly. A high R2 means the AI is consistently making accurate predictions. It's like hitting the bullseye over and over again.
Okay, makes sense. But they didn't just rely on one metric, right? How do we know the AI wasn't just getting lucky?
Good point. They also look at something called RMSE, which basically measures the average amount of error in the AI's predictions.
So the lower the RMSE, the better.
You got it. Lower RMSE means the AI is making fewer mistakes and its predictions are more reliable.
Gotcha. Low RMSE, high R2. That's the AI recipe for success.
So, what were the results? Did our AI contestants manage to crack the code?
This is where it gets really interesting. Both machine learning and deep learning were able to predict soil moisture much better than traditional methods.
Wow, so AI is already proving itself in the field.
It is. But remember, we had multiple AI models competing, so who took home the gold medal?
Yeah, who came out on top?
Well, 2 of the machine learning models, XGB and LGB, consistently outperformed all the others, even that fancy deep learning model.
Hold on. So you're saying the simpler models beat the more complex one?
It's true. Sometimes a straightforward approach can be surprisingly effective. And to make sure this wasn't just a fluke, they used another metric called GPI, or Global Performance Indicator. It's like the ultimate judge in the AI Olympics.
Love it. And who did the GPI crown as champion?
XGB and LGB, once again, they consistently prove to be the most accurate at predicting soil moisture.
That's amazing. But how are they doing it? What were these AI models picking up on that allowed them to make such accurate predictions?
It's like they have some secret plant whispering ability or something.
That's the million-dollar question, right? AI can sometimes feel like a black box where data goes in and predictions come out, but we don't always know what's happening inside.
Right. It's like they have their own secret recipe, but they're not sharing it.
Exactly, but these researchers weren't content with just knowing what. They wanted to understand the how. So they used some pretty clever techniques with cool names like SAP and Lime to peek inside that black box.
Okay, so we're talking about some serious AI espionage here. What did they find? What were those secret ingredients?
Okay, so we're talking AI espionage trying to crack the code of thirsty plants. What kind of secret intel did they uncover?
Well, some of it was pretty straightforward, like soil temperature, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How well the soil conducts electricity.
Okay, interesting.
And of course, weather data like rainfall and humidity, those are all pretty intuitive factors.
Right, a sudden downpour is going to change things for sure.
But you also mentioned some unexpected discoveries. What was so surprising about what they found?
Well, it turns out some factors they initially thought weren't that important actually had a big impact. It really shows how AI can pick up on those subtle connections that we might miss.
Like imagine discovering that the direction a plant is facing slightly affects how quickly the soil dries out.
Wow, I never would have thought of that. But it makes sense that the AI would be able to pick up on something like that. So we've got these incredibly accurate predictions, but let's get real for a second. What does all this mean for farmers in the real world? How do we take this from the lab to the field?
Well, imagine a future where farmers have real-time data about their soil moisture tailored to their specific crops and their exact location.
So, no more guessing games.
Exactly, they'll know exactly when their plants need water and how much to give them.
That's incredible.
No more underwatered or overwatered plants, just perfectly hydrated, happy crops.
Exactly.
Leading to less water waste, healthier plants, and a more sustainable way of farming. This could be a game changer, especially in areas facing drought conditions.
It's amazing how we started with this simple question. Can AI tell you when to water your plants? And it's opened up a whole world of possibilities.
It really speaks to the power of AI and how it's revolutionizing agriculture in ways we're just beginning to understand.
Absolutely. And for our listeners out there, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions. Who knows what other amazing applications of AI are waiting to be discovered?
And that's a wrap on today's deep dive.